The moment she Keith's sun was already setting over the Hollywood hills when the director finally called cut on the last scene of the day. Golden light spilled across the soundstage, mixing with the harsh artificial lights above. Most of the crew exhaled in relief. It had been a long, exhausting shoot. People stretched, laughed, and started packing up. But in the far corner, behind one of the large set props, someone wasn't moving. Ana de Armas sat quietly on a low stool, her hands shaking slightly in her lap. Her eyes were red, her makeup smudged, and she stared at the floor as if the world around her had melted away. No one noticed her at first. Not really. She'd hidden her tears during takes, kept her posture tight and professional. But something inside had cracked, and now, as the set emptied and voices faded into the distance, she was unraveling. Keanu Reeves noticed. He always noticed the quiet things others didn't. A missed lunch, a tired blink, a silent sigh between lines. While others packed up equipment and left with laughter, he lingered near the monitors, his eyes drifting toward Ana. Something felt off. Her energy, usually so light and open, was folded in on itself. He walked over slowly, careful not to startle. His boots echoed softly on the concrete floor. She didn't look up. Double quotes, Ana. He said gently, voice low and steady. You okay? She didn't answer right away. Instead, her shoulders trembled, and a quiet sob escaped her lips. Keanu paused, gave her space, then crouched down so he was eye level with her. His presence wasn't forceful. It was calm, steady, safe. She finally looked up, her eyes filled with tears that refused to stop. I'm sorry, she whispered, voice broken. I didn't want anyone to see this. You don't have to be sorry, he replied, eyes full of warmth. Not with me. For a few seconds, the silence between them said more than words ever could, and then it all spilled out. Ana didn't mean to, but the wall had already cracked, and now the flood came. I feel like I'm failing, she said. Like every take is just not good enough. Like I don't belong here anymore. Keanu didn't interrupt. He just listened. Every word she said was soaked in pain, in exhaustion, in self-doubt. The weight she'd been carrying silently for weeks had finally become too much. It's like no matter how hard I try, I can't get it right, she said, her voice trembling. And I know the crew is tired of doing retakes because of me. I hear them. The sighs. The whispers. Keanu's face stayed calm, but his heart hurt for her. He knew that kind of pressure. He'd lived through it. It's the isolation. The fear of not measuring up. He understood in a way only someone who had been through the fire could understand. Ana, he said softly, you are more than enough. Not. Just as an actress, as a person, shook her head, not ready to believe it. They don't see it, she murmured. They just see someone who slows everything down. Keanu glanced around. The crew was mostly gone now. The lights were being shut down one by one. But he wasn't leaving. Not yet. He sat down beside her on the cold floor, legs crossed like a quiet guardian. Then let's sit here, he said, and let it out. No pressure, no pretending. Hesitated, then leaned slightly toward him. She didn't speak anymore. She just cried, for a long time, and Keanu stayed. The studio was nearly empty, but he didn't move. Not once. He didn't check his phone, didn't glance at the clock. He simply stayed beside her, solid and steady. Outside, night had fallen. Inside, something fragile was beginning to heal. Earlier that day, before things spiraled, there had been a moment on set that changed everything. It was during a key emotional. Sunaina's character had to say goodbye to someone she loved, with tears and heartbreak. She had tried 5 times to get it right. 5 takes, 5 versions of pain. And every time, the director had quietly said, cut. Again, each time she tried harder. She dug deeper into her emotions, pulled from real memories, real hurt. Thought of someone she had lost years ago, someone whose voice she could still hear in the back of her mind. The more she gave, the more drained she felt. On the 6th take, something went wrong. She got through the first lines perfectly. But right at the peak of the emotional moment, her voice cracked in a way that didn't feel planned. She froze. forgot the next line. And then came the silence. The silence was louder than anything. The director said cut, and the crew's energy shifted. Small sighs. Quiet frustration. Someone muttered something under their breath. It wasn't cruel, but it hit her hard. Anna turned away, nodding quickly, pretending she was fine. She told them she just needed water, that she'd be back in 5 minutes. But she didn't come back. Not until they'd wrapped for the day. And now, here she was, on the floor of the soundstage, still holding back all the weight of that moment. Except Keanu wasn't letting her do it alone. After nearly half an hour of silence and quiet crying, Anna finally wiped her eyes and tried to laugh. It was small, a broken sound, but it was real. "You must think I'm so dramatic," she said. Keanu smiled, just a little. "I think you're human." She looked at him, eyes still glassy. "Why are you still here?" He didn't answer right. Away. Instead, he looked around the empty studio, then back at her. "Because no one should walk through moments like this alone," he said, "especially not someone like you." Her expression changed, a soft, surprised look. She wasn't used. "2 people staying after the camera stopped rolling. It's not like this. It's not just this scene," she admitted. "It's been building up. The pressure, the interviews, the expectations. Everyone sees the red carpets and the magazine covers, but no one sees the exhaustion. The nights when you wonder if you're losing yourself." Keanu nodded slowly. "I've been there," Anna blinked. "You..." He smiled again, but this time there was sadness behind it. "Many times. There were days when I didn't even recognize the guy in the mirror, but I learned something." She leaned in slightly, curious. "What?" "You don't have to earn." "Rest," he said. "You don't have to apologize for being overwhelmed, and you don't have to hide your tears." Anna closed her eyes. Those words hit something deep. They sat there in silence again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was peaceful. Then something unexpected happened. One of the assistant crew members, a young woman named Grace, peeked back into the soundstage. She had forgotten her headphones. When she saw Keanu and Anna sitting quietly on the floor, she froze. "Sorry," she whispered, backing away. Keanu raised a hand gently. "It's okay." Grace hesitated. I just wanted to say..." "Anna, your scene today? It really moved me." Anna looked up, startled. "You mean the one I messed up?" Grace shook her head. "No, the one where your voice cracked. It felt real. It felt like something I've felt before. It didn't feel wrong at all." Anna stared, her mouth slightly open. Grace smiled shyly. "Sometimes imperfection makes it perfect." Then she left. Disappearing down the hallway, Anna turned to Keanu, completely stunned. "Did that just happen?" He nodded. "Yeah, it did." And for the first time all day, Anna laughed. Really laughed. It wasn't loud. It was full of something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Keanu stood slowly and offered her a hand. "Come on," he said. "Let's get out of here." "Where?" "Anywhere. Dinner, tea, fresh air. Your choice. But let's get you out of this space. Sometimes you need to step away from the set, find yourself again." She took his hand, and together they walked out of the soundstage into the night. Now 2 souls bound not by fame or scripts, but by quiet kindness, shared pain, and something deeper than words. The next morning would bring new scenes, new expectations. But for tonight, Anna wasn't alone. Not anymore. The light between scenes next morning, the studio buzzed with energy again, but something felt slightly different. The crew moved with purpose. The director reviewed notes. Makeup artists prepped brushes. The assistant director shouted calls. Across the room, it was another day in the machine of movie making. But beneath the surface, something had shifted. Anna arrived earlier than usual. She stepped onto the set in a soft gray hoodie, hair tied back, eyes still a little tired, but her shoulders were straighter. There was still a flicker of doubt in her, but it was no longer consuming her. Something about last night had changed the way she carried herself. Keanu noticed it immediately. He was already there. sipping coffee from a reusable cup, leaning casually against a stack of lighting crates. When he saw her, he didn't wave or call out. Instead, he just gave her a small nod, the kind that said, "I see you. I'm here." Anna nodded back, and that tiny moment grounded her. The first scene of the day was a dialogue-heavy exchange between their two characters. The tone was subtle, lots of quiet emotion, unsaid words hanging between them. It was the kind of scene that required precision, patience, and most of all, connection. The cameras rolled. Anna delivered her first few lines smoothly. Keanu responded with gentle intensity. Their rhythm was natural, like two musicians finding the same key. And then came the line that had tripped her up in rehearsals. "You left when I needed you the most." Anna's voice trembled, but not out of fear this time. It was real, raw. She wasn't acting from her head. She was feeling it, letting the emotion move through her. Keanu met her eyes. He held that space with her. Didn't rush his response. "I didn't know how to stay," he said quietly. "I didn't know how to be enough for you." The room went still. No one dared to breathe. It was just them. Two characters, two broken hearts, finding each other. Again, the director didn't yell cut for several seconds after the scene ended. When he finally did, his voice was quiet, almost reverent. "That was it," he said. "We've got it." Anna stood there, breath shallow. Her hands were shaking again, but this time, it wasn't from fear. It was from release. A few soft claps broke out in the background. The script supervisor, one of the camera ops. Even the lighting guy smiled behind his rig. Anna exhaled and turned to Keanu. "Thank you," she whispered. He simply nodded again. Later that day, during a short break, Anna sat outside on one of the benches near the catering trucks. The sun was out and birds chirped overhead. For the first time in weeks, she wasn't scrolling through her phone or memorizing lines. She just sat, breathing. Being Keanu walked over with 2 cups of tea. "You look like someone who needs this," he said. She smiled and took the cup. "You're getting good at reading me." "Not hard," he said. "You wear your soul on your sleeve." Anna looked down, a little embarrassed. "Is that a bad thing?" "Not at all," he replied. "It's rare, and it's powerful, even when it hurts." They sat in silence for a bit. The kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled. Then she said something unexpected. "When I first started acting," she said softly, "I used to believe the camera would see the real me. Not the performance, not the lines, just me. Like it could capture something honest." Keanu looked at her, listening. "But the more I worked," she continued, "the more I started hiding, trying to be what everyone expected, trying to be perfect." "Perfection is overrated," Keanu said. "You really believe that?" He nodded. "People don't fall in love with perfect. They fall in love with real." Anna stared at her tea, the steam curling up like slow-moving dreams. Do you ever feel like you've lost pieces of yourself along the way?" she asked. Keanu didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Yeah, I've lost parts. But sometimes the work, the good work, helps me find them again." She looked at him, something stirring in her eyes. "Do you think we're doing good work?" He smiled gently. "I think today we did something honest. And that's rare." Anna breathed in deeply. I needed to hear that. That afternoon, the energy on set was different. Anna walked with more confidence. She joked with the crew, offered help to the costume assistant, even thanked the boom mic operator for adjusting to her movement during a tricky shot. Small things, but they meant everything. Everyone noticed. But no one said it directly, except one person. During a short lighting adjustment, a young actor, playing a minor role, approached her nervously. "Hey, Anna," he said, voice low. "Can I say something?" She turned, surprised. "Sure." I saw how hard yesterday was for you," he said, "and how you showed up today anyway. That meant a lot to me." Anna blinked. "You saw that?" He nodded. "Yeah, and it helped. I've been dealing with some stuff too. Thinking maybe I'm not cut out for this." She softened. You are. Promise. He smiled shyly and walked away, but the moment stayed with her. For the first time, she realized something. Her vulnerability wasn't a weakness. It was a bridge. After the wrap for the day, the crew started to pack up again. Lights dimmed, scripts were closed and tired. Feet moved toward the exits. But once again, Anna lingered. This time, she wasn't crying. She was just watching the set, the empty space where emotions had lived, where truth had been spoken. She stood there for a while. Quiet Keanu joined her a few moments later. You okay? He asked, like before. Yeah, she said. Better than yesterday. He nodded, then smiled. Want to stay a few minutes? She looked surprised. You're not rushing out tonight? Nah, there's something peaceful about an empty set. Reminds me why we do this. They sat on the same floor they'd shared the night before. The silence was full of light. Anna turned to him. Can I tell you something I haven't told anyone? Of course. I almost quit last month, she said. I had a bag packed. Was going to fly back to Cuba. I didn't tell anyone, just felt like the right thing. Keanu's expression didn't change, but his eyes grew softer. What stopped you? He asked. I don't know, she said. Maybe I was hoping for something. For someone to remind. Me? Why I started? He looked at her. And have you remembered? Anna nodded slowly. Yeah, I think I have. They sat there for a while longer. The soundstage was empty again, but the space between them was full of something new, something strong, something healing. It wasn't about the movie anymore. It was about the people behind the scenes and the kindness that holds us together when everything else falls apart. Behind the curtain of strength, third day of filming that week started in silence. Not because anyone was upset, but because something about the mood had shifted across the entire crew. There was a softness in the air. It got a quiet kind of respect. Everyone had noticed the change in Anna, just her performance. But her energy. She no longer rushed between scenes with her head down or hid behind the makeup chair. She made eye contact. She smiled more. She even laughed with the set designer. Over coffee, but what no one knew was that she had woken up that morning with tears already sitting behind her eyes. Not the same kind of tears as before. This time, they weren't about failure. They were about something deeper. Something older. She had a dream about her mother. They were back in Cuba, sitting on the balcony of their old apartment, eating fresh mango. Her mother had always known how to calm her nerves, how to speak with kindness, even when life was hard. Anna had reached out in the dream to touch her hand. And then she woke up. The space beside her bed was cold and quiet. She had stared at the ceiling, the ache in her chest growing stronger by the second. Sometimes, the hardest part of chasing your dream is the distance you create from everything that made you who you are. On set, she did what she always did, showed up, smiled, got into costume. But Keanu noticed. The smile didn't quite reach her eyes. You all right? He asked quietly during makeup. Anna nodded too fast. Just a long night. He didn't push her. But later that afternoon, he found a quiet moment between takes. They were resetting the camera angles, so he gently tapped her on the shoulder and motioned toward the back of the studio. She followed him without question. They ended up near the props room, where it was quiet and away from everyone else. Me, he said gently. Anna leaned against the wall, arms folded. She stared at the floor, unsure if she could say it. I miss home, she whispered. Keanu waited. I miss my mom, she continued. I miss the old life. The one before Hollywood, before interviews, before pressure, before expectations. Nodded, not saying a word. I dreamed of her last night, Anna said, voice trembling. I haven't seen her in months. I keep telling myself it's worth it, that this is the life I wanted, but some days I feel like I'm a stranger to myself. Keanu exhaled softly. You know, he said, the hardest part of success is that it doesn't come with instructions on how to stay human. Anna looked at him, her lip quivering. I feel guilty for missing home, she admitted. Like I should just be grateful. You can be grateful and still feel lonely, Keanu said. Both can be true. Anna closed her eyes. How do you do it? How do you keep showing up day after day without losing yourself? He chuckled softly, but there was no humor in it. I don't always, he said. Some days I lose pieces of myself. But the secret is, I try to surround myself with people who help me find them again. Anna's eyes filled again. Like you did for me. He nodded. Double quotes. And now I'm here for you. That's how we keep going.
Later that day,
Something unexpected happened. A journalist had been invited on set to write a behind-the-scenes piece. She was quiet, respectful, and kept mostly to the background with her notepad. During a break, she asked Anna for a short interview. Anna hesitated at first. Part of her wanted to say no. She didn't feel polished or ready. But then she thought about what Keanu had said, that reel doesn't have to be perfect. So, she agreed. The journalist asked the usual questions about the film, about the role, about chemistry with the cast. Then came a softer question. You've had a remarkable career in recent years, the journalist said. But what's been the hardest part of that journey? Anna paused for a long moment. She didn't answer. And then she did something bold. She told the truth, honestly. She said the hardest part is pretending I'm okay when I'm not. I've learned that just because people see you smiling doesn't mean your heart isn't hurting. Sometimes being strong means letting people see when you're not. The journalist blinked, caught off guard by the honesty. That's beautiful, she whispered. Anna smiled gently. It's not always easy, but I'm learning. The interview ended. The journalist walked away, clearly moved. Keanu, who had been sitting nearby, nodded at Anna. That was brave. Anna shrugged. It felt right. That night, after the wrap, Anna stayed behind again. This time, it wasn't because she was falling apart. It was because she wanted to give something back. She asked one of the young interns if they wanted help cleaning up the props table. The girl was shocked. You don't have to, she said. I know, Anna replied, but I want to. Keanu watched from a distance, smiling softly. Then he joined her together. They wiped down props, stacked chairs, and helped reset for the next day. It wasn't dramatic. No cameras, no spotlight. Acts of humility. When they finally stepped outside into the cool night air, Anna looked up at the sky. Do you ever feel like we're just tiny people in a giant story? She asked. Keanu nodded. Yeah, but sometimes even the tiniest people change the ending. She smiled. You've helped change mine, she whispered. And you've helped change mine, he said. Back, they stood there for a while. Two actors, two souls. Not defined by fame or lines, but by the kindness they shared when the world wasn't watching. And in that stillness, they knew. They weren't alone anymore, not in the ways that mattered. Something bigger than both of them forth. Day on set didn't start with lights or cameras. It started with a phone call. Anna sat quietly in her trailer, holding her phone with both hands. Her mother's name flashed on the screen. For a second, she froze. It was early morning in Los Angeles, but late afternoon in Havana. Her mother rarely called this early unless something was wrong. Anna answered with a shaky hello. The voice on the other end was warm, soft, and familiar. And as soon as her mother spoke, Anna felt something tighten in her chest. Mia, I saw your interview, her mother said. Anna closed her eyes. You looked tired, her mother continued gently. But you also looked honest. I'm proud of you, Anna bit her lip. She didn't know the interview had aired already. She hadn't seen the footage. She didn't even know if she wanted to. I was scared to say all that. She whispered then, that means it needed to be said. Her mother replied. They talked for a few more minutes. Nothing dramatic, just the kind of conversation that reminds you where you come from, that you are still someone's child, still held in someone's heart, no matter how far the cameras go. When Anna hung up, her eyes were wet again, but not from pain, from connection, from something she thought she had lost in the noise. On set. The energy was intense that day. They were filming one of the biggest scenes of the movie, a confrontation between the two main characters. Outs of emotion, shouting, tension. It was a long, complex sequence. Everyone knew it would test both Keanu and Anna. But something happened during the first take. Anna forgot a line. not just a small line. An important one. Turning point in the scene. For a moment, everything paused. The camera kept rolling. The director waited. Anna froze. Her chest tightened. Her hands went cold. The words weren't coming. Her worst fear from earlier in the week was creeping back in. But then Keanu stepped forward, still in character, and spoke a line that wasn't in the script, but somehow made perfect sense. It gave Anna a path back. She followed his lead, breathed, picked up her next line, and just like that, they danced through the scene, rewriting it with their hearts instead of just the script. When the director called cut, there was silence, then applause, real, honest, spontaneous applause. Anna stood there, stunned Keanu. Gave her a small smile. You did it. You saved me, she whispered. No, he replied. You saved yourself. I just gave you a bridge. Later that afternoon, the director pulled them both aside. I don't usually say this during filming, he began, but that scene just became the heart of the movie. Anna blinked.
Ah.
Even with the missed line. Because of it, he said what you two did. That was truth. That was pain and hope and everything we're trying to capture. Keanu nodded respectfully, but didn't say much. He never needed to. Anna, on the other hand, felt something settle deep inside her. The fear that had been gnawing at her since day one was shrinking. Not disappearing, but shrinking. And in its place was something else. Trust, not just in Keanu, not just in the crew, but in herself. During their dinner break, Anna sat beside Keanu near the back of the lot, their meals and takeout containers on their laps. Can I ask you something personal? She said. Always have you ever thought about quitting, Keanu? It was quiet for a while. Yes, he said finally. More than once. What stopped you? He smiled faintly. People like you? Anna looked confused. I don't understand. Seeing someone fight through doubt, seeing someone rediscover their strength, it reminds me why this work matters. You reminded me. Anna stared at him, her chest full of something soft and electric. You always talk like you're carrying some secret truth, she said playfully. Maybe I am, he said. Or maybe I'm just someone who's made peace with falling apart sometimes. Anna laughed, a real laugh. They ate in silence for a bit. Then Anna pulled something from her jacket pocket. It was an old photo. Her as a child sitting beside her. Mother on that same apartment balcony from her dream. Keanu took the photo gently, studied it. You look exactly the same, he said. I hope not, Anna laughed. No, I mean, your eyes, you were already dreaming of something bigger. Anna looked down at the photo. Sometimes, I wish I could go back. Tell her it's going to be okay. Keanu handed the photo back carefully. Maybe you just did. That night they didn't stay on set. Instead, Keanu invited Anna to a small rooftop cafe he liked. It wasn't fancy, no paparazzi. Just quiet music, warm lights, and a view of the city that made everything feel small in a beautiful way. They sat with mugs of herbal tea, wrapped in soft sweaters, watching the skyline glow. Do you ever wonder, Anna said, if people really see us for who we are, or just for what we do? Keanu thought about it. I think the right people always see you, he said. But first you have to see yourself. Anna nodded slowly. I'm starting to, he smiled. Good. They sat in silence, watching the stars blink to life. Anna leaned back, her voice quiet. If I wasn't acting, I don't know what I'd be doing. Maybe helping people, Keanu said. You think so? You helped me, he said. Anna looked at him. I thought I was the one being saved. We saved each other. And in that moment, they both realized something. This story, this journey, wasn't just about a movie. And it wasn't about fame, or roles, or getting the lines perfect. It was about healing, about remembering who they were beneath the spotlight, and about choosing to stay. When everything tells you to run, a storm they didn't expect, fifth day on set, started with a kind of nervous energy no one could explain. The skies over Los Angeles were gray, heavy with clouds. Rain was rare in the city, but today the air felt different. Something was coming. And it wasn't just the weather. Anna showed up early, coffee in hand, a soft scarf wrapped around her neck. She looked calm on the outside, but inside her thoughts wouldn't slow down. The scene scheduled for today wasn't long. It was a quiet one. Just a single conversation between her character and Keanu's. Two people who had walked through fire and were finally facing each other honestly. It should have been simple, but as Anna read through her script and her trailer, her phone buzzed with a message that made her stomach drop. It was a short text from her agent. Press caught wind of the interview. Tabloids twisting it. Headlines are starting. Na's fingers went cold. Her throat tightened. She opened her browser and saw them articles with loud, dramatic headlines. Ana de Armas breaks down on set. Anna admits she's losing herself. Is Ana de Armas cracking under pressure? They had taken her honesty and turned it into a weapon. Her breath came quicker. She felt like she was falling, like the floor beneath her had vanished. Again, and then, a knock at the door. "It's me," Keanu's voice said gently. Anna wiped her eyes quickly and opened the door. He saw the panic in her face immediately. "They twisted everything," she whispered. Keanu didn't ask what she meant. He just stepped inside and closed the door behind him. "Breathe," he said. "They're making it sound like I'm unprofessional, unstable, like I don't belong here." "None of that is true," Keanu said calmly. "But people will believe it," Anna replied, voice rising. "And if the producers see it, or the studio, then we tell the truth." Anna looked at him, shocked. "You'd stand with me, even if it hurts your image?" Keanu didn't flinch. "What matters more, the truth or the version of us the world thinks they know?" Anna sat down slowly, overwhelmed. "I don't know if I'm strong enough for this." Keanu sat beside her. "Then I'll be strong with you." They walked onto set together that morning with a quiet kind of unity. Keanu stayed close, not in a protective way, but like a steady lighthouse in a storm. The director noticed something was off, but he didn't push. They rehearsed the scene once. It was good, but not quite there. The spark that usually lived between them felt dimmed. Anna tried again. This time her voice trembled. It's not because of the scene, but because her mind was spinning. The headlines, the pressure, the fear of judgment. It was all too loud. "Cut," the director said softly. "Let's take 5." Anna turned away, walking quickly toward the far edge of the set. Her breath caught in her throat. Keanu followed, quiet and careful. "I can't do this," she said, her hands shaking. "Not like this." "Then don't do it for them," Keanu said. "Do it for her." Anna blinked. Her, the girl in that photo, the one on the balcony with mango on her fingers. The one who dreamed of this? Anna's breath hitched. "Do it for her," he said again. "She doesn't care about headlines. She just wants to speak truth." Anna looked away, eyes burning, and then she nodded. The third take was the one that changed everything. Anna didn't perform. She lived the scene. She let the hurt spill out, not just as her character, but as herself. The lines blurred. The pain was real. The hope was real. The emotion rolled through her like a wave, but she didn't run from it. And Keanu? He held every beat with her, every line, at every moment. Like they were building something sacred between them. When the director whispered "cut," no one moved. The crew stood frozen. One of the grips wiped his eyes. The camera op whispered, "I've never seen anything like that." Anna stood there, breathless. And then the crew clapped. It's not loud, not forced, just real and slow. Keanu turned to her, quiet pride in his eyes. "You did that," he said. Anna exhaled, her hands still trembling. "I've never felt that before." "That's what happens when you stop pretending," he said, "and start feeling." After the scene, the director approached her with something unexpected in his eyes, something vulnerable. "Anna," he said, "that was one of the most honest performances I've ever captured. Not just on this film, in my entire career." Anna didn't know what to say. He placed a hand over his heart. "Thank you for trusting us with that." And then he walked away. Anna stood there, stunned for the first time. She felt seen. It's not just for her talent, but for her heart. But the day wasn't over. Late in the evening, Ana's agent called again. They want a response, he said. What? Interviews are piling up. Everyone's asking for a comment. Sat in her trailer, the weight of it all pressing on her again. What should I do? She asked Keanu, who was sitting across from her. Tell them the truth, he said. What if it backfires? What if it doesn't? Ana took a deep breath. Then she opened her phone and recorded a short video. Her voice was steady, her face bare, her eyes honest. I shared something real about my journey, she said. And while some have chosen to twist it, I stand by it. Because the truth is, being human is not a flaw. It's not weakness. It's what makes us connect. And I'd rather be real than perfect. She posted it without editing and turned off her phone. They stayed late again that night, but not because anyone was breaking down this time. They stayed just to talk. To sit on the studio steps under the faint sound of distant thunder, watching the sky finally open with gentle rain. Ana leaned her head on Keanu's shoulder, both of them wrapped in a blanket someone had left behind. You think the storm will pass? She asked. It always does, he said. And if it doesn't, then we dance in the rain. She smiled. They didn't need big speeches anymore, just silence and presence. And trust the world outside could keep spinning, but here in this quiet moment, she was exactly where she was meant to be. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of being seen. When the cameras stopped rolling, the final day of shooting arrived with a strange kind of calm. The storm had passed, within the sky and in Ana's heart. Word had spread about the video she posted. Not the twisted headlines, not the drama the tabloids wanted, but her words. Real, raw, human, and something unexpected happened. People listened, not everyone, of course, but enough. Fans shared messages of support. Actors from across the industry commented with quiet thank yous, saying her honesty gave them courage. Even crew members from other sets reached out to say how refreshing it was to hear someone speak about the pressure they all felt, but rarely discussed. Ana stood in her trailer that morning, looking into the mirror. She no longer saw someone barely holding it together. She saw someone whole. Maybe not perfect, maybe not finished, but real. And that was enough. On set, everything moved slower than usual. It's not because of delays, but because no one wanted it. To end too fast, the final scene was simpler. Goodbye between two characters who had survived so much together. Not dramatic, not loud. Just two people, standing in a doorway, knowing their story would always live in the quiet space between. Them, Ana and Keanu stood across from each other, both in costume. They didn't need to rehearse. Not today. The director called action. Ana took a slow step forward, her character's eyes filled with emotion. I thought I lost myself, she whispered. Keanu's character smiled gently. You are never lost, just waiting to be found. Stood in silence for a long beat. Then she nodded and walked away into the light. The director let the shot linger, then quietly said, Cut. And just like that, it was over. No one spoke for a moment. Then the room filled with applause. Some of the crew wiped tears. The makeup artist hugged the costume designer. The lighting assistant clapped slowly, watching the actors with respect. It wasn't just the end of a shoot. It was the end of something that had touched everyone who witnessed it. Ana turned to Keanu. Her eyes were glassy, but her smile was strong. Thank you, she said, for everything. Keanu didn't say anything right away. Then he placed a hand gently on her shoulder. You showed up, he said, even when it hurt. That takes real courage. You stayed, she replied, even when you didn't have to. He gave a quiet smile. We all need someone to stay, once in a while. They walked off set together, no cameras following. Them now, just two souls, stepping out of a story they helped shape but carrying something even bigger with them. Outside, the sky had cleared. The rain was gone, replaced by a soft golden sun. The crew celebrated with cake and hugs. People exchanged numbers, gifts, even handwritten letters. It felt like the last day of school. Ana sat on a folding chair watching it all, her scarf tucked into her lap. Keanu sat beside her sipping tea. You know, she said, a few weeks ago, I thought I might not finish this project. But you did, he replied. I almost let the fear win, but it didn't. She nodded slowly, taking that in. Then, without warning, she laughed. Do you think they'll believe this was just a movie? Keanu smiled. Probably, but we know better. Anna looked at him. It was something more, wasn't it? He nodded. Something real. A week later, Anna flew home. Not because she was running away, because she was ready to return. She walked into her mother's apartment, the same one from her dreams, with sunlight spilling through the windows. She brought no entourage. Just herself. Her mother held her for a long time, and Anna didn't cry out of sadness this time. She cried because she had made it back to the place where it all began still herself. But stronger, Keanu stayed in Los Angeles. He didn't chase the spotlight or post anything online. He just kept living the way he always had, with quiet kindness and deep purpose. One day, a young actor stopped him on the lot. I heard about what you did for Anna, the actor said. That was incredible. Keanu paused. I didn't do much. The actor shook his head. You stayed. Keanu gave a small smile. Sometimes he said, that's the most powerful thing we can do. A month later, the film premiered. It wasn't a blockbuster. It didn't break records, but it meant something. Critics called it honest, powerful, beautifully raw. And everyone agreed on one thing. The performances felt real. Like the actors weren't acting at all. Anna watched the premiere from the side of the theater, not the red carpet. She didn't care about flashing cameras or interviews anymore. She just watched the screen and smiled when she saw herself, not the character herself. For the first time, she saw what Keanu had seen all along. A woman brave enough to show her tears and strong enough to stay.